Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of a series of videos which are going to completely change your mind about how science has to be done. We looked in the first video at how science doesn't make any sense anymore. As soon as science got going with Isaac Newton, it started to fall apart when he found the three-body problem. Two bodies in space behave completely predictably. Three bodies in space, if they're of near equal size, behave completely unpredictably. That needs an explanation. In fact, biology needs an explanation because it is by definition adaptable. So it can never come from classical physics, which is by definition not adaptable. So you can see the mess that we're in. Science has been falling apart ever since it got started. After the three-body problem, we get biology with Charles Darwin, who only had random mutation to explain evolution. We all know that a kidney cannot fall together by random mutation, or an eye, or an ear. You always get exactly what you want, so there must be another explanation underneath biology, and there is. And we'll get to it in this series of videos. We'll go step by step. The first thing we need to do is to look at the complete mess that science is in and show you that it's just not talked about. If I told you that something as simple as a snowflake cannot be explained by science, that should do it for you. But it's not me that's going to say it. I'm going to read from this book by Frank Close, a very well-respected particle physicist, telling you why the snowflake can't be explained using physics. For example, the molecules of water are free to take up any direction within a warm liquid, but once frozen, they form beautiful structures as exhibited by snowflakes. A pattern emerges in the cold, even though the underlying laws of physics showed no such prejudice for one direction over another. That's it. That's it. Physics can't explain the snowflake. And the fact that you're removing energy, not putting energy in like biology, and you still get more complexity, means that all the nonsense and excuses about the second law of thermodynamics and closed systems and open systems, if you remove energy, you still get more complexity. So we need a completely new way of thinking about science. Once Einstein's thrown out gravity as a force, if a gravitational field is not a force, a magnetic field is not a force, how could empty space apply a force to a planet or a magnet? It can't. General relativity is the geometric theory of gravity. That's a mathematical theory. And if I look at positive and negative on an atom, are positive and negative mathematical properties or physical properties? You can answer that yourself. So there is a unit of energy, 1.6 times 10 to the minus 19 of a coulomb. That's the physics. But the only thing distinguishing mathematical properties like positive and negative is you can say that they're equal and opposite, and that's it. So the idea that the universe is driven by mathematical rules helps us put science back together. Once it's broken down into quantum mechanics, relativity, chaos, turbulence, laminar flow, human behavior. Humans are only made of atoms, so they must behave to the same principles. And we do. So let's just nail it for you and give you an example of why we had to move over to an information-driven universe. Information in the form of mathematics. Mathematics which sits outside the system, like a chess game. It's not the pieces or the board, it's the rules. Completely platonic. And you need something in the universe which can work those rules out and write them down. That's us. So we are the universe waking up to itself. So just to give you some logic. This book here, it's a very, very good book, The Beauty of Numbers in Nature. The whole book is all about the mathematical patterns we see which define nature. None of these mathematical patterns can be derived from any law of physics. Think about that. So this is physical material, and there's no explanation in physics for patterns like this. That needs the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, purely mathematical causality, which then allows me to make sense of books like genetics. The physics, electromagnetism, just holds these particles together. Where each one is not physics, it's pure mathematics, and Ian Stewart says that. So if I see my physics book as matter and space behaving to mathematical rules, it puts it together with the biology book and my book of rules, which explains how mathematical systems have complete freedom within the boundaries of physics to be adaptable. So how important is that to say that we've had the rules for decades, but nobody knows what to do with chaos theory? They try and put it into physics, but you can't. One is by definition predictable, the other is by definition unpredictable. If you see them as separate layers of mathematical rules, you don't get into contradiction. Now, if mathematics is base, we should see mathematics building itself the same as physical matter or biology. And we do. Everybody in each department in the university has seen a little base pattern, which is exactly the same as a pattern that builds mathematics. But because they all work in separate departments and they don't know that they're looking for a mathematical pattern, they just say it. So in the next video, we're going to show you people recognizing there's a pattern. Frank Close recognizes it in particle physics. Murray Gell-Mann recognizes it in particle physics. But it's also the same pattern, exactly the same pattern, in genetics, music. It has to be like that. If mathematics is the underlying driving causality of the universe, whatever builds numbers or units will build units of matter. Now there are some numbers which build all the other numbers. And what we want to see is that the pattern they use to build all the other numbers is exactly the same as the pattern that builds matter. The simplest system of matter is a proton. Now inside a proton there's a mathematical pattern which shows up in every field of science. Now I'm not going to give you that pattern in this video because you can work it out. What are the numbers that build all the other numbers? You only need 2 of them to build everything else. Are you beginning to get there? We'll talk about it next time. Bye now.